Hello, everyone, and welcome to WION Live Broadcast with me, Susan Tehrani from New York City. First, let's get you up to speed with this hour's headlines. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits Egypt on his latest West Asia crisis tour, seeking a new ceasefire and enduring end to the Israel-Hamas war. Meanwhile, 6 people, including 3 police officers, were wounded in an attempted terror attack in front of an Istanbul courthouse. 2 terrorists were shot dead.
I said, America's back.
Up to 90% of Lufthansa's flight schedule will be canceled due to a walkout by ground staff, the latest strike-related travel chaos to hit Germany. Concern is growing for a group of at least 10 orcas, which were seen struggling in the ice off the coast of Hokkaido in northern Japan. While whales can remain submerged for long, these animals breathe air like we do. Yemen's Houthi rebels have launched more attacks on U.S. and U.K. ships in an official statement. The Houthis said that they struck U.S. and British ships in 2 separate attacks in the Red Sea. This comes after the group said that they are ready for long-term confrontation. In a statement, a Houthi spokesman said the first attack targeted the American ship Star Nasia, while the other targeted the British ship Morning Tide. The security firm Ambry had earlier reported a drone attack on a British-owned cargo ship. It said the Barbados flagship reportedly incurred minor damage on the port side. Earlier, the U.S. confirmed additional strikes in Yemen to target Iran-backed rebel groups. The attacks were in retaliation to the Houthi rebels attacking shipping vessels in the Red Sea. According to the U.S. Central Command, strikes were carried out in self-defense against Houthi rebels. The Houthis reported at least 48 airstrikes. Pentagon says 36 Houthi sites have been targeted. For more on this, we are now being joined by Mr. Nathan Paul Southern, security expert. He's joining us live from Rwanda. Welcome to WION, and thank you for joining us. These U.S. and U.K. strikes against Houthis, are they really working?
Well, from your report, you just mentioned that there was 2 more attacks just today on UK and US ships specifically. So by the very definition, they are not working under any circumstances. This isn't really
So we were speaking to our guests about these Red Sea tensions ongoing. It's escalating, and the question that many are asking is whether or not these UK and US strikes against the Houthis are really working. Some believe that the Biden administration's efforts are too little too late. Others say that he's taking the right path in trying to prevent a confrontation. So it's yet to be seen how far is too far and whether or not the United Kingdom will also continue to stand by the United States. There was always concern about a possible spillover, and now again, some experts are wondering whether we're going towards that path, not only with the recent attacks against U.S. troops in the region, but also America's retaliatory strikes. Just a few days ago, you may remember, they were in Syria and Iraq. And now we're seeing that these attacks continue, not only against U.S. troops on the one hand, but these Houthis against these shipping vessels on the other. So a lot at stake. Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, is in the region. He's hoping to, first of all, assure allies on the one hand that these retaliatory strikes are not a cause for spillover, or that's not Washington wants, and hopefully to release the remaining hostages. Okay, so a lot to ponder, but let's move on to our next story. And of course, this will be a story that we'll be following. It's about U.S. President Joe Biden. He faces an uphill task in his re-election bid over voter concerns over the fitness to serve a second term in the Oval Office. A poll conducted by Gallup finds that only 38% support Biden's second term. In June 2022, asked the same question, only 33% said that they wanted Biden back as the president. But in the same survey, 41% of Americans said that they approved of Joe Biden and what he was doing. As expected, most Democrat voters support Biden's re-election bid. 29% of independent voters also weighed in their support. A very thin percentage of Republican supporters believe that Biden should be re-elected, indicating the growing popularity of his rival, former President Donald Trump. Now, the poll also reveals that Biden has the lowest approval rating than all recent U.S. presidential incumbents. Last time in January 2020, at the beginning of the election year, Donald Trump had an approval rating of 50%. However, Biden can take relief by looking at the trends that voter sentiments on re-election has often changed right before the election. For example, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton saw significant improvement in percentage ahead of their re-election bid, and both went on to win a second term. Biden's age is one of the most prominent concerns for voters. However, even political rivals have constantly raised questions on his mental health. Recently, Biden confused his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, with France's longtime dead former leader, François Mitterrand. The clip went viral on the internet.
You know, right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. And it was in the south of England. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me.
And that chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, well, it remains another prominent issue for voters. It has raised question over Biden's role as commander-in-chief. Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley has formally requested Secret Service protection. Haley is the last Republican rival standing against former President Donald Trump. And according to a report by the Wall Street Journal, she claims her presidential bid has resulted in threats, although she does say that these threats are not going to stop her. Haley's home was recently targeted by a swatting call when someone called 911 to get heavily armed police squads near her house. She wasn't home, but her elderly parents were at the time. Donald Trump has repeatedly mocked her, calling her bird brain at one of his rallies. What's bizarre is back in October, Haley posted a picture of a bird cage and bird food. Haley claimed that the Trump campaign had sent the hamper to her hotel room. The decision to provide a security will be made by the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security. Secret Service protection is granted to major possibility of them becoming the party's presidential candidate. Until now, the former South Carolina governor has used her personal security while campaigning, while local authorities are also present at her events as well.
My mom started a business out of the living room of our home. Republicans have lost the last 7 out of 8 popular votes for president. That's nothing to be proud of. We should want to win the majority of Americans. We moved that 11% unemployment down to... On any given day,
the United States will supply 50 air-to-ground missiles to Taiwan by the year 2028. An American firm has been awarded the contract to build these advanced missiles. The weapons are intended to boost combat capabilities of Taiwan's F-16V fighter jets and deter attacks from across the strait. It is the first weapons supply contract announced by the Pentagon since the pro-independence candidate William Lei Ching-te won the recent elections. Now, under the $68.4 billion contract, the American aerospace and defense conglomerate RTX Corporation will build the 50 weapon-to-air ground missiles. Taiwan will get them over a 4-year period. The contract is part of an arms sale package approved by the Trump administration back in 2017 to help the self-ruled island strengthen its deterrence capabilities amidst tension with China. The air-to-ground missile is a 1,000-pound air-to-surface precision strike weapon. The missile has been integrated on a number of U.S.-made fighter jets, including Taiwan's fleet of F-16s. The weapon's standoff range 12 to 63 nautical miles and allows it to be fired from outside the range of enemy point defenses while effectively engaging and destroying targets. The missiles will be delivered to Taiwan as part of the 2017 arms sale package with a total value of $185.5 million. The package also includes a supply of captive fight vehicles, dummy training missiles, spare parts, personnel training, and equipment. Taiwan has begun taking delivery of a purchase order of 66 new F-16Vs from the U.S. last year. A deadly Pacific storm made landfall over Southern California on Monday, killing at least 3 people. It was the second Pineapple Express storm in the region in less than a week. The storm has led to torrential rainfall that triggered mudslides and flooding all over the West Coast. A mudslide destroyed many homes in Los Angeles. The National Weather Service documented 10 inches of rainfall from the storm since Sunday across the Los Angeles area. Aerial footage showed a stranded motorist being rescued in a flooded area in Los Angeles. More than 350,000 homes and businesses were without electricity in the state. Heavy rainfall and hurricane force winds knocked out power all over 1 million customers. Near hurricane force winds flooded streets and brought down trees and electrical lines. Over 600,000 homes and businesses were left without power. The National Weather Service said more rains are expected before the showers taper off.
This is among the heaviest we've ever had. Yeah, this is bad. Right, Heather? This is bad. Yes, very bad.
World Bank President Ajay Banga warns that part of the development leaders' work is impeded by excessive restrictions. Banga said that it undermines the progress and effectiveness, especially when he's trying to raise capital and expand the bank's mandate. Since assuming control in June, Banga has directed the bank's attention towards climate change and its effects. He has also often criticized the 16,000-person workforce for what he perceives as their inefficiency and slowness. Projects must meet over 1,100 rules to secure money from the bank's International Development Association. Referring to over 1,100 rules that projects must meet the security money from the bank's International Development Association, Banga said, quote, "We are wasting time on this stuff." He said the rules have jumped from about 150 over the 2 decades. The present degree of bureaucracy, he argued, slows the process of establishing standards to guarantee the responsible use of taxpayer funds. According to the president, reducing the number of stakeholders needed to approve decisions and changing how environmental impacts are examined are 2 examples of how bank procedures can be efficient. According to Banga, the G20-backed Common Framework projects for distressed debt among poor nations is also too slow. He cited various interests, including government credentials like China and private investors as the main reason. Banga said the proportion of countries borrowing from Western-aligned Paris Club nations was down to 40%, about 90% 2 decades ago. All right, let's take a look at the updates from the world of technology. Scientists from the University of Wisconsin-Madison claim to have 3D printed a functional human brain tissue for the very first time. The 3D printed brain tissue behaves like natural tissue. It is considered a major leap towards the development of advanced solutions to neurological and neurodevelopmental disorders. Researchers hope this could open the door for the development of treatments for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The United States has announced a new policy that will impose visa restrictions on foreign individuals involved in the misuse of a commercial spyware. The policy will apply to people involved in the abuse of commercial spyware to target human rights activists, journalists, opposition politicians, members of marginalized communities, or targeted family members. The visa restrictions could also apply to people who facilitate or get financial benefits from the misuse of commercial spyware.
What the intent might have been, what the actions were, and of course.
Layoffs continue. The spate of layoffs continue. The latest company to announce layoffs is Snap, the parent company of popular social media platform Snapchat. Tech companies are by far the worst affected by the layoff tsunami. Snap has announced that they will be laying off around 528 employees. That is around 10% of its global workforce. This is not the first time round that the layoffs are taking place at Snap. Last year, Snap axed around 3% of its workforce, and in 2022, the company laid off 20% of its employees. So far, around 32,000 tech workers have lost their jobs in 2024 alone, according to layoffs.fyi, a startup that has been tracking job cuts in the industry since the pandemic.